Another test with the One Mark IV, this time using CinemaPro as the app of choice, because I heard this one does not overheat or cause the overheating issue. Just Video Pro and maybe Basic Photo Pro in basic mode on video, but though not so often as the Video Pro app. So maybe it's a Video Pro app limitation here that causes overheating. I don't know, maybe they have some ultra auto algorithms that are causing this. Otherwise, of course, CinemaPro has the limitation that you cannot switch between the cameras during recording using the normal lens here, and the stabilization is not so good. But could be also the reason why it's not overheating so quickly, because the stabilization is a bit weaker. It's using 21:9 aspect ratio here, and I think recording is working fine with a 24mm lens. Focusing is turned on, but we don't have phase eye autofocusing as an option here. So this is another limitation of CinemaPro, but CinemaPro is an older app and tends to work pretty nicely on other Sony Xperia devices. So maybe this is the way to go. Now I think the sky and the brightness is not changing so much. Hopefully, maybe the sun will come out and I'm getting a bit too bright here. But yeah, it's working fine so far. And yeah, let's take a look at if I can do anything in here. Nope, I cannot do anything here. 2 minutes recording. It's showing a bit overblown stuff here, but the rest is like, I think, okay. It's using the NA profile. The other interesting idea I have is maybe, but I'm not sure, H.265 is the answer. So if you choose H.265 instead of H.264 as a video recording format, and HLD, HDR usually should eat a bit more, but H.265, then it's running a bit cooler. I'm not sure. Also, I'm in the shadows right now recording, so I'm not sure if this helps. And anyway, let's go to the sun. It should be a bit brighter here, probably a bit overexposed. If I go here around the sun in the background, behind the clouds hiding. Not so sure about this one, but yeah, keep in mind that this is a CinemaPro, so stabilization is not the best here. And we have to see if we get any overheating issue or hot temperature warning or something like this on the One Mark IV. Another idea that came to my mind, maybe the seamless zoom option on the Xperia One Mark IV is causing the overheating. Would be interesting, because it would mean that eventually, it's a bit loud here, eventually all the sensors are working and on for some reason, and then when you switch, so you can get the seamless zoom, it has the same white balance, the same colors and so on. Not so sure if this is the case. If this is the case, it would be very bad. I can understand it on one hand. On the other hand, I would say, Sony, you can make it a bit better. So I will test this out as well. So if you have a fixed one, not setting the seamless zoom option, but fixed lens only option, if it still overheats then or not. So this recording with the CinemaPro app, now I think roughly 5 minutes. 3 minutes, and still going strong. Shutter speed is like 22, shutter degree rule is 22.5, because I cannot get anything. I don't have the ND filter here. Just walking around here to see if we can get this thing overheated or not. And yeah, let's see if the Xperia One Mark IV is really a failure in terms of overheating or not. Might be very interesting. So another interesting test for those people who are interested if this device can be usable. It's a bit windy, not really. There's a little bit of breeze going on here, that's everything. And yeah, it's quite a good camera system. I really like the 120 frames per second option here. I have to switch hands, not lens. 120 frames per second option I really like on the Xperia One Mark IV, because it allows me to capture like almost everything in like a quick manner, quick swipe, and it will be super smooth later on. And it's a super interesting, ingenious thing, especially to have it on the ultra wide angle and the zoom lens. The zoom lens especially can zoom in on certain things like birds flying and so on, which is pretty interesting, or starting to fly or land. 120 frames, super interesting. Slow motion in general is super interesting, but on the wide sensor, the main sensor, it never really made sense to me. I'm not sure what you think about this, but I think that the zoom lens is the one that should have the slow motion, because there you can like get something close by, and maybe the macro lens as well. So the ultra wide angle that can do macro, this is one thing that I think Sony should improve as well on a 1 Mark V. Of course, heat, probably they will do some measurements, change the design maybe slightly, make it a bit thicker here and there to get like a proper cooling in there. Pretty sure that Sony should maybe do even a 1 Mark IV update where they put maybe in a second revision or something like this a bit of better cooling in there to get rid of the heat problems. Especially I think they could do it for the US market. So because US market, the release is later, much later, so it could be one thing that will appear on the US market, that they have also a hardware fix for the overheating issues, not only software. And for those here in Europe and Asia, they will have a software fix only. I don't have a problem with a slightly underclocked CPU if it doesn't overheat. I have my what is it here, a Magic 4 Ultimate, considered one of the best cameras on the market right now. Not by everyone, but by most of the people. And this one also has a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, and it's underclocked. It's like 300 megahertz lower than the Xperia. Yes, of course, this has a bit of a thicker design. It has the better camera system, I would say. So I will do a comparison definitely, but it has a bigger camera system. That's why it's thicker in general, but has a better cooling system as well, which keeps it like around 3 to 4 degrees cooler than the Xperia in general. But together with 300 megahertz less in its default state, so instead of like, not talking about idle mode, both are running the same megahertz, but as soon as you do some swiping and so on, the Xperia is going up 1.3, 1.6 gigahertz, and this one here is going up 1 gigahertz and then 1.3 gigahertz, which is roughly 300 megahertz less than on the Sony. So the Sony is running not only hotter because of its design, but also because the CPU is running at a higher clock speed here, which is something that I personally would like to see Sony tuning down a little bit, so 300 megahertz less, and then you won't run into such issues with overheating and so on. So this is at least my opinion here. Not sure what you think about this, and you can write it down in the comment section if you want to. This is my second video actually. You can also write down if you like such videos where I just run and talk a little bit for a few minutes to see does it overheat or not. So it's a bit of a cool breeze here right now, and I think still don't have a high temperature warning even. It's a bit overexposed here, and recording in 21:9, and we have already 8 minutes. This is roughly what I had on my previous test, I think, when I saw the high temperature warning on the Video Pro app using Xperia 1 Mark IV, and I was switching also between lenses and so on, and I couldn't record like for much longer. I would say like maybe like 15 minutes, and that's it max from this point on. So if it shows this high temperature warning, usually you have like 5, maybe 6 minutes, and that's it. And then it will give you the overheating warning, and after the overheating warning it's basically hit or miss. It can record for again 5 minutes, but it can also stop recording after a few minutes already, depending on in what mood it is basically. So yeah, this is me running, talking, gunning with the CinemaPro app. So if you have the 1 Mark IV and you want to try out overheating, you are having issues with overheating, try out maybe the CinemaPro app, especially if you're in an environment not like me running and gunning here, but if you're in an environment where you can rely on the CinemaPro app and then just crop in, eventually set an A profile, and you should be alright. You have to do maybe slightly bit of HDR to SDR conversion, but I think it's possible if you have the time to do post-production to try it out to see if this fixes the overheating issue for you. And then the other thing that I will try out definitely is also the video mode in Photo Pro, the Photo Pro basic option. And now we hear maybe a little bit wind as well. I'm not sure how good the wind filter is working here on the Xperia 1 Mark IV. Otherwise, yeah, this is now, I think, going on long enough. We have like over 10 minutes recording now. Let's 10 minutes recording roughly, and no high temperature warning on the Xperia yet. So I have to switch hands a few times, otherwise my arm gets a little bit heavy. So yeah, 10 minutes now recording on the Xperia 1 Mark IV, and no overheating, no high temperature warning even in CinemaPro. So definitely something wrong with the Video Pro app. Maybe the Photo Pro app in basic mode is also suffering a little bit from it, but I have to test this out still. And if you made some experiences also with the latest firmware, even if you have the would be super awesome, do you have the latest firmware from Asia, like what was it, 75 something? So instead of 64.0.5.75, it's 71 what I have here, you have like 67 point something. I don't know the right numbers. Why do the numbers need to be so obscure? I don't know, Sony and naming, yeah. Anyway, so if you have this latest firmware that is a small firmware file only in Asia released, should fix overheating things. Is it also fixing the Video Pro overheating issues? This would be very interesting to know if you encounter this. Oh, I'm getting now in the dark. Can you still see me? Anyway, if you have this, do you still have this overheating issues? Also, when you're out and about and not using the video mode, do you have still overheating issues with the 1 Mark IV? I noticed one time only, this was shortly after I was doing some video editing actually, that I had this step down at overheating, basically stepping down from 120 Hz to 60 Hz with the display refresh rate. After I finished editing the video, I didn't notice when it was rendering. Of course, maybe it was also turning itself down there when it was rendering already. But yeah, write it down in the comments. With no matter which firmware you have, just write it down in the comments. One of the latest firmwares. Do you still have this? Because I don't usually. And yeah, what is your experience so far with the 1 Mark IV, if you have any? And for those who are thinking about buying this and want to know what my experience so far is, like I said, without the with the exception of this one editing thing, I did not experience this on the 71 firmware that I have running here right now. And yeah, the Video Pro app I think is the main culprit, because here I'm using CinemaPro and I'm recording here for 12 minutes and it's a bit overexposed, yes, but or underexposed depending on the situations, but it is recording strong and it's not even getting hot. It's like very cool to the touch, not even a tiny bit hot. So there's something wrong with the Video Pro app and all its automatic mode glories that is causing this overheating issues on the 1 Mark IV. I'm pretty sure that is the case. I will try out the Photo Pro in mode in video, like I said a dozen times already, but I will try it out to see with the keeping in mind that of course it also has all the automatic stuff, most of the automatic stuff from the Video Pro app as well, or yeah, most of them even face eye detection nowadays. To see if this is also having this overheating issue. Otherwise, if you don't want an overheating Sony Xperia 1 Mark IV, just use the CinemaPro app, set everything up manually, or hit the auto button if you don't want to set up manually. But for this scene that you have and the lighting is not changing so much for you, then set it up for you. And yeah, hopefully this is working well for you then without much of an overheating issue. So now I think I talked enough for this little video here. And I hit the screen, it's changing focus probably. So I have 14 minutes now, no warning for heat, not warm at all at any. Usually it gets warm when I'm holding it where I'm holding it, but nothing here. So I think it can record like 15 minutes longer even, or half an hour or even an hour longer until the battery is empty or the memory is full. So what do you think about this one here? I think I will stop this recording here right now, roughly at 15 minutes recording with the CinemaPro app. No heating, temperature warning even, not talking even about overheating. So the fix for now is using CinemaPro, and then you don't have any high temperature warning or overheating issues with the Xperia 1 Mark IV.